Welcome back. We are the Blitz and Kick podcast where we talk all football all the time.
With the first pick in the 2023 NFL Draft,
Hey guys, so we will be on the road tomorrow morning traveling. So we're going to come to you live now with our day 4 winners and losers.
And there are a lot of them. So many offensive line prospects, so many winners, just a lot of talent. Tackle, guard. I believe one scout said this is the deepest this room has been in 20 years in terms of prospects. So we expected overall some of these guys to run a little bit faster. But however, none of them were really slow. And then combined with all the drill work too. There are a lot of freaky athletic linemen here, a lot of experience as well, a lot of versatility. So let's jump right into the winners. Who do you got for the winners?
Well, I'm going to do one loser, and that'll explain our winners and losers. One loser was Lucas Oil Stadium's turf. Good Lord, guys. There were so many injured guys running the 40. I think it was up to 5, maybe 6. I think definitely 5. 5 guys got hurt running the 40, pulling their hammy. Everybody was able to walk away, but that's just a huge loser to me for this whole day and for the combine, because you just can't afford to hurt all these guys and cost them millions of dollars because you're not keeping up with the stadium. Anyways, winners. Go ahead, Kyle. Let me have the first guy because I love him.
All right, well, winners, Troy Fountainoff from Washington, I thought looked the best out of the bunch, in my opinion. He ran well, but more than that, he just looked like a tight end out there doing his drills and doing all the pass sets and all the blocking, all the different things that linemen wanted them to do. He just looked quick, light-footed, and it was very easy for him to move around. Joe Alt, we know about Joe Alt, probably be the first tackle off the board.
He was fast.
Yeah,
in person,
yeah.
You don't know on tape until you see him in person. He's fast.
Yeah, he runs so easily. For being a 6'8", almost 6'9" guy, I mean, he's, that's different. You don't see that many guys who are that tall at the offensive line position, but he looked quick, he looked fast, he looked like he knew what he was doing out there, and he looked like he could be a tight end if he wanted to be. Like, it looked like he played different sports earlier on in his life, and it was kind of confirmed with the people on the field talking about his hockey background and baseball. I think all the different sports that he played, it really seemed like he did. He's an athlete. He's a fluid athlete. So that was nice to see. He's not just a towering human being who can't move. He can definitely move.
I'm gonna hit you with one guy that I hit you with this morning. I said he might have a good day. I said he was on my list to watch. Christian Haynes looked fluid. And I think that's his best thing that I can say for him, is that he just looked really fluid in everything that he did. And that's great for him because there's no real guard one. I think it's between him, Beebe, and Sua Mataya. But we'll get to that later. Who else is a winner for you?
Frank Crum and Tanner Bortolini, the guys that ran some of the fastest times, the guys that have the flowy hair. Bortolini had a lot of good times with his 40, his jumps, and his cone drills. A really athletic center, maybe even guard as well. It's very rare to see that kind of athleticism, that quickness from that center position. So he's a guy that I think his stock is definitely going to rise. And Frank Crum, I believe, out of Wyoming, ran like a 4.94, I think. Looked really fluid out there as well. His stock is rising. And then one of our favorite guys, Cooper Beebe. I thought he's a massive human being. He's a big boy. He's definitely over 320, maybe even 330.
Oh, yeah.
But he moved well for how big he was. I thought he looked really good too.
Yeah. This guy you had on your list, The really fast guy, Roger.
Oh, Roger Rosengarten. Yeah, he had really good times. I think he actually had the fastest time out of anybody. The guard from Washington. So I didn't know much about him honestly before this combine, before this experience, but now I do. So it's time to go back and watch a little bit more of him, figure out what he's about. But he had, I think, the fastest 40 time there. Marius Mims, we both just said it when he walked by us. Like, he's just a massive human being.
Yeah.
And I think on the board it was guys that were over 6'7" who ran the fastest times in the combine, 6'7" and 340. Obviously, Jordan Davis is up there. We know how much of a freak he was. But Mims was there as well.
I think he was number 4.
He was number 4 or 5. Like, yeah, he was like, it's hard to be that big, move that fast. So that, and I think his 3-cone or his short shuttle, he had an insane time too. So just a really freak of an athlete. I mean, we know he's a freak. It's just with him, right? He only played 6 or 7 games. That's not great, but I mean, he could be a developmental type of guy, and yeah, definitely a freak. Zach Frazier, I want to give a shout out to, because he broke his leg. He had a massive injury on one of the last games of his college career, but he didn't run the 40, but he came out and he did all the drills. He
He looked good.
Yeah, he gutted it out, which is more than a lot of these guys during the combine, because a lot of these guys just sat in their butt and didn't do anything. So shout out to Zach Frazier as well.
I think our last winner has to be maybe our most important one, Kingsley Suomataya. You've probably seen us mock him a bunch of times. We sat next to his family as he was going through his combine, which was really cool. He is 40, 505. That's not bad. That's not bad. He also is one of those like guys that could go in the first round. It depends on how he plays and what he looks like. We didn't get to stick around, sorry, to see his drills, but just his 40.
Suomataya, I don't know if you guys knew this, but he's Penei Sewell's cousin. And when Daniel Jeremiah and Rich Eisen, they have all those comps and everything, they put him beside Penei Sewell. And a lot of his times, times, weight, verticals, all that stuff was a little bit better than Penei Sewell as well. So I think he is a freak of an athlete, and he's very raw still, very, able to soak in so much more than what Penei Sewell did. I mean, Penei Sewell was young coming out, but he has some experience. I think Suomataya has a little bit less experience, a little less ready, but I think all the physical tools are there. Just needs to go to the right team.
Yeah. Let's talk losers. I want to take the first loser. J.C. Latham, what has been mocked by just about everybody in the first round, but choosing not to run the 40 is not a good look when there are dudes that are 6'7" and taller busting their butts and flying on the 40s compared to not running at all. I think he just bumped himself out of round 1 conversation potentially, because there were a lot of guys that bumped themselves up today that I think people will look at them in round 1 and say, ooh, that guy might be worth it. Ooh, that guy, he needs some help, but he's worth it as a developmental guy in day 1. Latham didn't do himself any favors by not running the 40. I don't know if he was injured. I don't know if he just chose not to run it, but he looked healthy when he came out. So
yeah, especially with this crop of linemen, I think it's difficult to sit out because there's a lot of good guys at the top.
A lot.
And they're all pretty close, so to sit out or not to run or even to have a bad combine, yeah, that could hurt you, and that could push you to the second round, because there's only 32 spots. Like, there's a lot of good corners, a lot of good receivers. We know probably about the 4 quarterbacks are going to go, right?
Yeah.
So, like, someone's going to fall in the second round. It could be guys that choose not to participate in the combine. Losers for me, Tyler Guyton. I just thought he'd be a lot more athletic, look the part. He's tall. Like, we noticed that right away. Wow, he's a massive human being. He's big, and he has a light of foot, but he didn't run that well. His vertical, broad, all that definitely was not near the top. And from everything that we've heard, he is going to be a freak, and he was going to test out the gym.
Yep.
And he didn't. So I think that could be a guy to watch out for. He might fall the second round. Also, my boy Olu Fashanu. I still think he's a great prospect. Don't get me wrong, but he didn't do any of the drills outside of the 40 because he's one of those guys that got hurt. He didn't run the 40 as fast as I thought he would. But also his hand size, it's very small. It's about 8 1/4 compared to some of these guys who are at like maybe 9.5, 10, 11. So that's a little concerning. I mean, it's not the end all be all to his conversation, to his pro career, obviously, but teams do look at that. People do look at that, and to have kind of smaller hands for that big of a left tackle is a little concerning there. So I think a lot of guys made money today. I think a lot of guys are going to rise up. Fountain, Fuaga, Joe Alt. So to me, right now, where I'm sitting, I think a guy like Olu could slip a little bit.
Slip, yeah.
Maybe to the middle of the first back end.
Speaking of, we have one more loser. And I just don't know why he didn't run, because he looked like he was going to go and then he didn't. Jackson Powers Johnson has an absolute case to be a first rounder. He is probably the best center in the draft, maybe one of the best interior guys, and he didn't run. And again, I'm like, this is not the draft to not run a 40. This is not the draft to not run a 40, because like we said, there's so many guys that are doing well. People are going to look and say, "Oh, we lost you." Well, I don't know if he can handle it. He's that explosive on a block, and it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt, especially being so touted as that guy, and he just didn't run. So again, the same problem that we had with J.C. Latham. I just think he's going to fall some. Not maybe out of the first round, but that's money. When you drop picks, you're dropping money. Like, it just, yeah. Anyways, guys, we are so glad that we can bring all this content from the Combine. What do we have coming up?
Well, we have a little bit of an update with the free agency. We have some cool things planned ahead with that. AFC, NFC kind of team needs, some players for each team.
Do we want to post a post Combine mock tomorrow morning?
Yeah, we could do that. Sure. So we have that coming up. We have a lot of mocks coming up, and I'm sure we're going to do another live mock draft with a bunch of people. So stick around for that. Free agency frenzy is on its way in a week and a half. So that look out for as well.
Ooh, two things weird at the Combine that I kind of want to put out there into the universe so that people know that it came from us. One, the Falcons are interested in Kirk Cousins. That was something that managers were talking about back and forth between each other, because there's been a lot of trade talk about Fields going to Atlanta. From the sound of it, they're trying to shop Fields, trying to see what they could get for Fields. It sounds like a done deal that they're going to take Caleb Williams first overall.
We also saw Giants members talking to J.J. McCarthy quite a bit.
Many. At least 3 guys.
Some Steelers guys talking to offensive linemen quite a bit.
Yep.
So that's, I mean, not the biggest nuggets in the world, but we definitely noticed that. So.
For sure. Anyways, thanks, guys, and we will see you soon. I don't know. We'll put out a date. We'll see you soon. Bye, guys.